Shit. Here we go again.
Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a character who is a building superintendent, is a member of the Mind Police in the Mindscape, and comes from a Mindscape dimension. We're of course talking about Sleepwalker. Now the Mindscape is a dimension that borders on the minds of all intelligent beings and even living things, and is inhabited by weird and very strange creatures. Some of them are very dangerous, and they seek to invade sleeping minds of various humans and other beings throughout the universe. The Sleepwalkers act as guardians or defenders of minds in the Mindscape, which is kind of like a dream police, and they apprehend evil creatures just like police would. One such Sleepwalker was tricked by his arch enemy, Cobweb. Now he tricks him into entering the mind of a New York college student named Rick Sheridan and became quite trapped. Now Rick himself is just an ordinary human being, and he majors in film studies as a college student. He lives in Brooklyn in an apartment with a dog named Rambo, where he works as a building superintendent, doing maintenance work in exchange for rent-free living. Rick actually has an on and off again romance with a girl named Alyssa Conover. Now Sleepwalker first emerged from Rick's mind to battle a gang of thieves. Now he fights the dream images of the Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Factor, and even the X-Men. And after a few battles in Rick's dreams, Rick reacts by tearing off Sleepwalker's Imaginator, which is pretty much a badge that is worn by all Sleepwalkers, and it's used to teleport around inside the Mindscape. And it also banishes and imprisons monsters that they capture. Now this causes the two to become bonded. Now when Rick sleeps, Sleepwalker could just pop out into reality, or could just stay in Rick's mind and talk with him via his dreams. It was through a conversation within the dream world that Sleepwalker is able to dispel Rick's initial fears, that being that he might be some type of evil entity, and they wanted to work out an agreeable term of cohabitation. Now Rick and Sleepwalker eventually work out an understanding, allowing the alien to fight crime and various injustices. Now this isn't very easy for either one of them, as Sleepwalker's appearance causes fear among regular people. Now later on, Sleepwalker helps Spider-Man battle Kingpin and Crime Wave. Now with Darkhawk, Deathlock, Moon Knight, and even the Squadron Supreme, he attempts to stop Eon's body from invading Earth's universe. And he also battles the Chain Gang. Now with Deathlock's help, he also rescued Alyssa Conover and a number of innocent people of being experimented on by the mysterious and odd Mr. FX. He later fights Nightmare and then battles Spectra. Alongside Mr. Fantastic and The Thing, he battles the Thought Police. And even later, alongside Darkhawk and Spider-Man, Sleepwalker saved the character Portal from the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. He also battled various demonic and supernatural menaces, including an evil demonic genie known as Mr. Jin. Now Sleepwalker is one of the few entities who remember the events of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. He actually spent most of his time fighting villains called the Chain Gang and rescuing people from various natural disasters. However, the villain called Nebula turned back time, neutralizing what he had actually gone through. Now, at this point, he considers his vague memories to be only a dream. Now, Sleepwalker played an important role in the Infinity War storyline, helping to defeat the forces of the Magus by channeling mental powers from Professor X, Jean Grey, Psylocke, and Moondragon through Rick Sheridan's mind. He also contributed to the battle against evil clones of the superheroes, fighting the clones of Beast, Firestar, and Daredevil, saving the lives of a number of innocent New York civilians. Part of the fight against the evil doubles also involved Sleepwalker impersonating his own evil clone. In the Infinity Crusade storyline, Sleepwalker is brainwashed by the goddess and is taken to a planet on the other side of the sun. She keeps Rick asleep by drugging the orange juice in his refrigerator. And during the battle between the goddess's forces and the rest of Earth's heroes, Sleepwalker subdues Darkhawk and the Human Torch by dragging them into the water with his shape-changing powers. One time, Sleepwalker actually exchanges bodies with Rick Sheridan and battles Cobweb, the Chain Gang, 8-Ball, and the Hobgoblin all together. Now, later in the series, Sleepwalker is revealed to be the lead scout for the dimension-conquering Mindspawn race, which is an invasion force from the Mindscape who are just basically intent on conquering Earth. In actuality, Cobweb had to put in motion a complicated plot to invade Earth and disrupt Rick's relationship with Sleepwalker. This involves disguising his minions as members of Sleepwalker's race and framing his archenemy as their leader. Now, this plan is only a little successful as Sleepwalker and the Avengers thwart the initial attack, although Sleepwalker's reputation was completely ruined in the process. Many people still believe that Sleepwalker's race had planned to invade and conquer the Earth, and that Sleepwalker himself was just basically a scout for the invasion force, thinking he was going to betray his own people to protect humanity. During the confrontation, Sleepwalker pretended to destroy Rick's mind as a means of protecting him from Cobweb's minions. Unfortunately, the authorities retrieved the mind rape weapon Sleepwalker had used to store Rick's mind, preventing the alien from recovering it, but also gathering up one of Cobweb's demons that was left behind after the Avengers drove them away. Now, the demon and the mind rape were both taken to a federal prison and research facility where serial killer Jeremy Roscoe was also being held as part of a psychiatric experiment. Now, Roscoe stages an escape from the prison hospital and becomes infused with the demon in the process, transforming into a nightmarish creature named Psycho. The monster begins spreading mass insanity across New York until Sleepwalker manages to defeat him and retrieve the mind rape. Later, Sleepwalker stops Cobweb's second attack and banishes his enemy once and for all, before seemingly dying to save Rick Sheridan's life. However, Sleepwalker would still turn up alive and still be trapped in Rick's mind. Sleepwalker eventually gains the ability to interact with the real world once again. He is then seen investigating the after effects of an explosion caused by the villainous Ringmaster. He had attempted to become more involved in the situation, but was actually foiled by Rick's sleeping schedule. Now, under the initiative, where they had to register for superhuman activities, Sleepwalker registers after Alyssa Conover's death in an auto accident. He then appears alongside Machine Man and Agent Sum as a member of Miss Marvel's Operation Lightning Storm. Now, during the Fantastic Four's confrontation with a character named the Quiet Man, they needed Sleepwalker's assistance to stop the threat posed by the heroes from Counter-Earth, reasoning that Sleepwalker was particularly suited to advise them on it, since Counter-Earth was basically Franklin Richards' dream. During this time on Counter-Earth, Sleepwalker actually noted that none of the human inhabitants were actually real, as they didn't have any actual soul, allowing the FF to freely take them out, as they were actually not killing anyone. Now, as far as powers and abilities go with this character, Sleepwalker possesses superhuman strength, exceptional durability, and flotation-like flight. He is also capable of the projection of images of what is seen from his eyes. His only offensive power was his warp gaze. With his vision-based power, Sleepwalker would alter the shape of physical objects and twist them to his purposes. He could also modify physical characteristics of the objects, and he could affect making them harder or even softer. He also uses this ability once on air molecules to create a wind tunnel for faster aerial travel. Now, Sleepwalker tries not to use his warp beams on any living entities because he swore an oath by all members of his race due to the mental and physical pain this would cause. Sleepwalker's vision actually has different effects on demons and other extraplanetary creatures that are not from Earth, and pretty much often incapacitates them and banishes them back to their native planes. His ability to use this warp beam diminishes as he uses it. The greater the intensity of his usage, the faster he is using it up. The warp beam power is only replenished by rest. Now, as a resident of the Mindscape, Sleepwalker has exceptional visual abilities, being able to see much farther in distance than any average human, as well as being able to see and follow energy trails and see wavelength colors that are normally invisible to human eyes. Now, instead of food, Sleepwalker actually feeds on mental energy, needing it periodically to return to Rick's mind to use this as strength. When Rick appears to be dead, Sleepwalker formed a temporary bond with a homeless man named Pike to borrow some of his mental energy, although he did this only with Pike's express permission. As a warrior of the Mindscape, he is a skilled tracker and expert in the combat use of his own powers, and also it gives him a certain amount of knowledge about various supernatural entities. Sleepwalker's very presence can also strengthen the powers of psychic powers of other characters as well as mind-related magics, enhancing the mental abilities of Professor X, Moondragon, Jean Grey, and Psylocke, basically enabling them to connect with the mind of every human on Earth to free the human race from mental enslavement by the Magus. Also, similarly, Sleepwalker's mere presence increased the power of Doctor Strange's mental spells and enabled him to imprison the mental demon released from a woman's mind by Nightmare. Now, his supernatural expertise allows him to be aware of souls that are natives of Counter-Earth and can detect that they have no souls, when they were nothing more than psychic manifestations that were created by Franklin Richards. He was even able to confirm that the character Jim Hammond has a soul despite his artificial origin. Now, being a resident of the mental plane, Sleepwalker has resistance but not immunity to various mental attacks. When battling the monster Psycho, the creature had the power to instill madness in his opponents. Sleepwalker briefly suffered from insanity, although he managed to resist and overcome. Sleepwalker was shown to be able to absorb the energy of the attack and use it to increase his own strength and power, although he still suffered from its side effects. Sleepwalker has several notable weaknesses. The first was his bond to Rick. Whenever Rick wakes or regains consciousness, Sleepwalker could automatically disappear from the human world and just return back to Rick's mind. At the same time, Sleepwalker's strength was related to his connection with the ground and the earth. The higher he levitated, the greater loss of strength. Similarly, Sleepwalker would weaken if he did not return to the mental plane or Rick's mind to rest, to renew his supply of mental energy, which happened both when Rick was killed during the Infinity Gauntlet and when Rick seemed to be dead. Any type of prolonged stay on Earth can lead to a death for him. Finally, upon being exposed to certain frequencies of light, Sleepwalker experiences hallucinations and other pleasurable effects that distracted him from his frustration and anger at being hated and rejected by humans. He became addicted to the light, using it to escape his problems in a way similar to drug users or alcoholics. Sleepwalker's obsession with the light had tragic consequences, including the creation of spectra and putting Rick into a coma. Horrified by what he had done, Sleepwalker manages to overcome his addiction and saves Rick's mind from the thought police. Sleepwalker also has in his possession a device called the Imaginator. The Imaginator was capable of teleporting Sleepwalker and other targets in and out of and to different locations within the Mindscape. Now, during the Infinity Wars tie-in, Sleepwalker discovers underlying truth about his people's place in the universe and the world's denizens' connections to the Infinity Stones. As the 6 gems of ultimate power form a circuit, being an entity begotten to the Mindscape, which is revealed to be an inner realm within the Mind Stone, enables Sleepwalker to tap into that crucible of virtual omnipotence without needing or using said regalia manacle crucible directly. And hold on to your butts. This means he can access unlimited supertropical capabilities through Mind's hold over power, supplant inner relative distances with or without its imaginator, using space confluence threshold via power, transverse the river of time and its streams of myriad possible outcomes through its subservience of space, alter the very texture of localized universal reality using its understanding of time, and finally deviate the physical, moral, or characteristic quandaries of the soul by his comprehending reality. Which, if you understood any of that, gives the Sleepwalker powers that are basically on a limitless scale. We really enjoyed this character. He was always kind of weird and awkward. We passed him by in the comic stands like all the time to go and get Spider-Man or Iron Man, but really every once in a while we would pick that up, and that comic was actually one of the ones that we look back and we think, man, those were actually decent comics. We didn't think it at the time, but now looking back and reading these comics, they are a real treat. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful night, a great morning, an awesome afternoon, whichever. Please like, share, and subscribe. We really do appreciate that around here. Also, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about this video. And also let us know what character down in the comments you would like to have us work on. And we'll see if we can't make a video for you. As always, Excelsior.
Hello, monkeys!